Welcome back to the Not Yet Adults podcast. This is, of course, a podcast starring Collin Geffrey and myself, Eric Zayas, as we navigate the treacherous road towards adulthood.
Eric, I would just like to say that was a wonderful first take you did of that intro. It was so good. It was perfect the first time.
Definitely didn't have to do it twice because I hit the mic and ruined the audio the first time. Speaking of first takes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't ready for it that close, but
The reason I'm laughing and he's like, oh, it's because this episode's about hot takes. And if you don't know what a hot take is basically a controversial opinion. And I was looking it up actually on Google, and like it's a journalism term for someone who writes a highly opinionated article that's based on little research and usually done in a rush.
that's super interesting. I did not know that.
This isn't exactly that. This is just like kind of what most people refer to when they say hot take nowadays in like normal conversation. They just say, ooh, hot take. Like that's something that...
It's an unpopular opinion.
Yeah, it's just an unpopular opinion that we have. And we've both jotted down a few that we want to discuss.
So before we start, we should probably just say kind of the point of this episode is that it is going to stir up some dirt and probably people aren't going to agree with us. And so if you disagree, as you very well may with the stuff we're going to say, let us know. And we'd love to hear your opinions as you're hearing our opinions. And the things we're going to talk about, Eric and I have not presented to each other. So this is 100% genuine, our reactions. And just because one of us says it doesn't necessarily mean the other agrees with it. As I'm sure you'll find out. In fact, it probably means that the other doesn't agree with it, which is kind of the fun. But anyways, so Eric, do you want to start or do you want me to?
You go first.
Okay, so I have a list, and we'll just get to as many of them as we can without keeping things too rushed. I'm just going to start easy. I don't like avocados. I think avocados are dumb. I don't get it. I don't understand this obsession that millennials seem to have with avocados. You freaking put it on toast. You freaking put it on your pizza. I don't know.
You sound like an old man. You put it on toast. You put it on your pizza. Get off my lawn.
I think the consistency is weird. I think the taste is bad. I just don't like them. I don't get it. It's like I'm like missing a gene or something.
So this is something right off the bat we disagree with. Now I agree with you to the extent like I wouldn't just put it on toast. It's not like butter, you know. But I do like avocado, but like it's by itself. Like it's the tricky thing about avocado is, and I've learned this, and this is one of the things I learned at being an adult. Like I went grocery shopping and I was like, oh, I should get fruit. I got bananas, I got apples, you know, and I was like, oh, avocados. And then I like brought them home, tried eating one, and it was like opened it up and it was dry. I was like, what the fuck? And then one was like, oh, it's gotta like ripen. Like the thing about avocados, there's a very short window for when it's right to eat, and it's hard to tell when that is, because the outside doesn't, like with bananas you can tell very clearly that, oh, it's like if there's green to it, it's like, oh, it's not ready. If it starts getting yellow, it's like, okay, it's ready, but you can wait a little bit. If it has some brown spots, like, okay, now it's ready and it's gonna be soft and sweet. And then if it gets too brown, it's just like a dark brown, then it's like, oh, you missed the you've passed the Rubicon or whatever they say. Yeah, avocados are tricky, but when they are ripe, like I like sliced avocados with some, you can put some salt in it or not, and I think it's got like a good, I don't know, it's got like a good oily, kind of savory, almost like, it's like refreshingly savory, if that makes sense.
This may come across as me trying to backtrack on my answer, and I don't mean it that way at all. But just hearing you describe that, it's possible I've never had a good avocado.
How do you feel about guacamole?
Don't like it. I'm very weird. I have like a liquid solids thing with food. Like any food that's like somewhat liquid and somewhat solid, I have a hard time with. So that's not really a hot take. It's just a thing about me.
So you can't have any pudding?
I hate pudding.
Oh my god.
What's weird is ice cream is the exception. I don't mind ice cream.
Yeah, ice cream's more, well, if you eat it fast enough, it's solid. But once it melts, you're like, oh, can't eat this, throw it all in the trash.
No, I pour it all into the trash vindictively, just staring at the kid out on the street who wants ice cream. I just look at him as I pour it into the trash.
She just starts crying. The thing about guacamole is, like, you know when you eat something as a kid and you're like, oh, that's weird, I don't like it. Or you, even before you eat something, you think you wouldn't like it, and then later on you have something that's basically the same thing or very similar, and it's like, oh, that was good, and you didn't realize you're having it, and then you go back and you eat that thing, and it's like, oh, I like it. Like with guacamole, I don't think I ever had it as a kid. I just heard about it. I knew, like, had an idea of what it was. I was like, oh, that's not for me. That's like, I associated with spicy food, which I'll get into spicy food in a bit, but because I only ever heard of people having it with spicy food. Then as an adult, I had avocado. I was like, I really like avocado, and avocado is the main ingredient in guacamole, so I'll probably like guacamole. And then I had guacamole, and I was like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I love avocado, but I do not like guacamole. It's like they put so much in it that they ruined it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's something to be said for just the most pure form of a food or something that you enjoy more. It's everybody's different. So anyway, Eric, that's my first hot take. That's what I've got, and I'm sure all of our listeners have clicked off now because they're the cult of avocado out there.
Before you continue, though, since I mentioned it, I might as well get into it real quick since we're on the subject of food. I mentioned spicy food. It's because I think all spicy food is overrated.
Yeah, you do. I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
Oh, God. Sounded angry there for a second. Then you were like, yeah, you became a cheerleader.
So here's the thing about spicy food. Not everyone, but so many people like eating spicy food. Why? It doesn't taste like anything. It's just hot.
To me, spicy food is just pain.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just pain, and it's like a food that's like, hold on, don't eat this too fast. You're going to hurt. Like, I guess there's two things, like, that can help with the spicy food, like water, which the thing you think wouldn't, the thing you think would help with spicy food is actually something that will make it worse. Whereas two things that make it better are bread or milk. And neither of those, maybe bread kind of can go with the spicy food. Like, I'll have, spicy food, and they'll be like, oh, I'll have some bread. But, like, usually when I'm like, oh, this is spicy, I want to drink something to take care of it, the only thing that really works is milk. And milk does not go with spicy food. It's just not something you should eat with it. You know what I mean? Like it's the one thing that, like, will immediately help.
I don't mean to steal your thunder, but just because you mentioned it, I'm going to sneak a mini hot take into your hot take real quick. And that is that milk is dumb. Milk is stupid. I hate milk.
That's one we disagree with. I love milk.
I kid you not, have not drank a glass of milk in probably 10 years.
I have a lot of friends that dislike milk, and a lot of friends, a lot of those people are vegan, so it's like, oh, well, obviously. But even, like, the ones that are not vegan are just like, milk's just gross. And, like,
it's just gross, man. There's a lot going on there. But anyway, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. Yeah, like, spicy food.
This is going to be only about food.
It's just our literally hot take because it's spicy food. Yeah, I don't know, man. Spicy food, it's one of those things that it's never bothered me as much as a lot of people, but I never understood people who would go out of their way to eat very spicy food because it's not a flavor. It is just hot. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know why you would put yourself through that. I'm realizing as we're recording this that this is the episode where we just make everybody mad. And I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't a good idea, but I mean, we're here now. It's fine. Let me see. I have to be careful how I phrase this.
Oh, boy. That's not a good way to start.
I would rather watch any Star Wars prequel than I would The Last Jedi again.
Damn.
So I'm not necessarily saying that one is a better movie, but I would rather rewatch any prequel than have to sit through The Last Jedi again. That's where I'm at.
Now, before I respond to that, I'd like you to expand.
I don't know the last movie that made me as frustrated and disappointed with a franchise as The Last Jedi. And this is someone who's seen all the DCEU movies as well, and I count those in there. I thoroughly enjoyed Batman v Superman more than The Last Jedi.
So you were more disappointed by The Last Jedi than, like, the Justice League movie?
Correct.
Yeah. Wow. Or I just think it wasn't bad, but I mean, like, Batman v Superman.
Yeah. Not saying that these are better movies than The Last Jedi. I'm saying I enjoyed them more than The Last Jedi, and that The Last Jedi disappointed me more than those movies did.
Do you think it's possibly because you had more stake in Star Wars?
Absolutely, 100%. And the issue with Last Jedi is, had it existed in a vacuum, which I understand is a ridiculous thing to say, but had it not been a Star Wars movie and it just came out, I don't think it would be bad. But to me, Force Awakens did such a good job of giving us questions and teasing answers, but not telling us anything outright. And we had all these fantastic, in my opinion, fantastic plot threads set up. And The Last Jedi just answered them all with really just dumb, stupid, half-baked answers. And I just like spoilers for Last Jedi, I guess. Who's Rey's parents? It's nobody. Why is Luke back? Who cares? He's dead now. Like, what's Leia doing? Oh, she has force powers, I guess. Like, it was just It was just bad, man. It's just not good.
Who's Supreme Leader Snoke? You'll never know.
No one. He's dead.
My problem with the Star Wars, new Star Wars movies is that they don't understand how to build up stakes for their villains. Like in the first movie, why does Rey need to train to fight Kylo Ren? She's already, like, at the end of the movie, she already almost defeats him. And then in the second movie, like, they like team up, and but in the second movie, the Last Jedi, which you're talking about, like, most of the villains die at the end, and the only two villains in the leadership positions left are bumbling idiots. You got Kylo Ren and you got General Hux. General Hux is like a joke character, like a character that's like a punching bag, and Kylo Ren, like, he's supposed to be this big menacing character, but really he just comes off as this like emotional child who can't do anything. He like can't just succeed. He's supposed to be threatening, but he's not, because everything he's done, besides like the first scene, the first movie, everything he's done is just fallen flat.
And I will say Star Wars fans have this kind of pattern I've noticed where they see a character, particularly a villain, for a very short time on screen and become obsessed with him. Darth Maul's a good example of this. Boba Fett's a good example of this. Snoke is a good example of this. But Snoke, to me, was such a fascinating character because he's this very old, almost mystic Sith Lord, or maybe not even a Sith Lord, just a bad guy.
Real quick, Boba Fett in the first, in the original trilogy, wasn't meant to be this like big character. People just like, oh, he's kind of cool, and then it became like a cult symbol. And then Darth Maul, I think, was kind of presented as this big villain, but like it ultimately didn't amount to much. But Snoke was specifically presented to be this huge, mysterious like literally his hologram was like giant, and it's like, who is Snoke? And then it doesn't matter.
And to me, what was so fascinating about his character is he clearly seems very old and like he's very experienced. And so my number one question is, where was he during the original trilogy? Because we assume he was behind the scenes somewhere. Like, he at some point was pulling these strings, not necessarily directly.
He could have been bigger than Darth Sidious, aka Palpatine. Like, you know, he could have been his boss, like the guy who we thought was boss the whole time. Really answers, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of, actually. The guy that we thought was boss really answers to this guy, and we're like, oh, who's this guy? And then he was split in half, and it was like meant to be this joke, like, haha, he's split in half. But like, what? What the heck? You could have done something so much cooler.
To me, the most true and devastating criticism I can give to The Last Jedi is it made me not care about Star Wars anymore. Like, Episode 9's coming out this year. I don't really care. Like, will I see it? Yeah, but they don't have a hanging plot thread or a question to answer or a story to tell that I care about anymore. It's like, okay, Rey's gonna fight Kylo now. Cool. Like, I just don't care. And that, to me, as a lifelong Star Wars fan, is the worst thing it could have done, which is make me not really care about Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm really worried about the last movie, because it's like, what do you do? Like, unless they like introduce like, they would have to introduce so many new characters and new elements to make it like exciting that would take up like a lot of the movie.
Well, I don't know. Last time they introduced a bunch of new characters, we got Commander Holdo and Rose Tycho, which to me are like two of the worst Star Wars characters.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, those characters were bad. Like Rose, I liked, except for the forced romance at the end. That's like out of nowhere. Like, okay.
Well, not to mention, like, she like slams into Finn, right, as he's going down like the throat of the whatever it was called, the giant cannon that the First Order has. Slams into him at 1,000 miles an hour. Easily could have killed him, just so easily. And she's like, "No, I was saving you. It's fine. Like, it's cool."
And also, I'm in love with you. Oh, and what was it? You said Haldo was like this person that's like, you just have to trust me without me explaining. And surprise, I actually had a plan. Why didn't she just tell him the plan?
It's like, hey guys, I know you're really worried. This is what I'm thinking. It's like all you needed to say, as opposed to, you haven't earned it yet. You haven't earned to learn about me.
Instead of being like, stop being so cocky and just follow my lead without question.
Which, if she hadn't done that, if she had just told everybody the plan, Finn and Rose and Poe would have had no arc. Would have had nothing to do in the movie.
First, I mean, the movie would have been a lot shorter. We wouldn't have to see the casino planet, but literally every problem at the end in the third act would have been solved if she just told him the plan.
They wouldn't have had to go to the Star Destroyer. They wouldn't have gone to the casino planet. Yeah. God.
And they wouldn't have found, like, they wouldn't have told Benicio del Toro the plan. Benicio del Toro wouldn't have snitched, and by snitching, they wouldn't have like shot out the resistance or the. Are they called the resistance in this? Oh, I got it. See, I'm like blank anymore. Speaking of movies that are bad, I'm gonna transition to my hot take, or else we'll talk about Star Wars the rest of the movie. So there's this movie that came out. Excuse me, I should have coughed away from the mic. There's a movie that came out in 2013 called Spring Breakers. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I'm vaguely familiar. This is the one that has like a bunch of female Disney Channel stars or former stars.
Yeah, James Franco plays this like rapper that's basically a parody of like this guy named Alien or something in real life, or he's a DJ. I don't know. And then there's Vanessa Hudgens, or no, actually, wait, is she? Yeah, Vanessa Hudgens, Selena Gomez, and two other people, whatever. So it's basically, the plot is these young women want to go to, I think it's Cancun or someplace for spring break, but they don't have the money. So they put on masks and literally rob a bank and take and get the money, and then they're like success, and then they go have spring break, and then there's no consequence for that, whatever. So they yeah, there's literally no consequence. So they go, and I don't even remember the exact plot, but basically they meet this like rapper, and they become friends with him, and they have this weird relationship, and then one of the people gets hurt and goes back, whatever. Anyways, and then the oh god, I can't remember the plot at all, but basically the rapper and the three remaining girls go to fight this other, like, I guess the rapper's into like drug business stuff, and they go to fight this like drug lord. And
this is weird. This is a weird sounding movie.
It's a bad movie. Like, this is the point I was gonna make. A lot of people when it came out were like, you know, there's so much symbolism. This is like an amazing movie. And like
wait, were they? I've never once heard that about everything I've heard about this movie was that it's dumb.
Well, I think that's like the general consensus, but like a lot of critics were saying like, oh, it's a really interesting modern artistic take. Like there's not a lot of movies like this that are like at both modern in every sense, but also like very artsy, like avant-garde artsy. And I watch it, and it's like, you can't have a bad movie and then throw in some symbolism that like happens to be religious, that it can be interpreted as religious symbolism, and then like have a good movie. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm on the Rotten Tomatoes page real quick, and it's got 67%, which is like pretty decent for a Rotten Tomatoes rating. Like, honestly, I thought it would be lower. That's the tomato meter. The audience score is 38%, which feels more accurate to me. And the description is Spring Breakers blends stinging social commentary with bikini cheesecake and a bravura James Franco performance. I don't know what bravura means, but for this, it's basically saying like it's got stinging social commentary, and I'm watching it, and it was one of the few movies I almost like. I've never watched that movie. This one I came close to. I don't get any of the social. I remember watching it and thinking like it just seems like a weird, almost perverse movie. Like, I don't see any of the social commentary from it. I don't see any of the like hidden meanings, and I don't. But also in the same time, I'm not compelled to rewatch it again that, because I feel like it's almost like a farce. Like, I'm not gonna rewatch a movie over and over again that's bad because it's got symbolism.
No, it's a fool me once sort of thing of like you have one chance to get your hooks in me, and occasionally if enough people advocate for something, I'll go back and rewatch it. But typically it's you get one chance, and if you blow it, you blow it. I will say, and again, haven't seen this movie. I know almost nothing about it, but this is the movie that we get the seminal quote "Spring Break Forever" from, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Spring Break Forever. It's so dumb. It's like a dumb movie. Here's. I'm just gonna say one last thing about it, and then you can say your piece. It's a dumb movie that like has tricked a lot of people into thinking that's actually really smart. You know what I mean? Like, it's a dumb like frat boy kind of movie that like people will look at, and because there's some symbolism in it and some like it's like artistically the cinematography is like avant-garde sort of. People look at it and think like, oh, this movie has meaning, and it's like it could have meaning. I'm sure it does, but it's not. Yeah, it's not. Doesn't make it good.
Yeah, but see, that's not enough. Yeah, that's not enough. You can't have a well shot movie with everything else is bad and it's a good movie. It's part of it, but I mean, the quote that comes to mind. I'm like a huge Casey Neistat fan, and he always talks about in his videos that like if the story you're trying to tell is good enough, people will be willing to forgive everything else. But if everything else is good and the story is bad, people won't be interested. And I mean, it's true. You can't just have a well shot artsy movie with a terrible story and characters and expect it to work. Yeah. So I guess we're back to me. I kind of floated this one to you a little bit in the pre-show, and it seemed like you didn't know too much about it. So I might explain this one a little bit. But there's this war, I guess you could call it, going on right now.
On Christmas. No,
on Christmas, the war for Christmas. In between T-Series and PewDiePie.
Okay, I know PewDiePie. I don't even know who T-Series is.
So T-Series is this Indian YouTube channel that basically what they do, it's a company. It's not just a person, it's a company. And they basically re-upload like Bollywood music videos. That's basically all they do. Is they don't produce them, they don't make them from scratch, to my understanding. They just take pre-existing Bollywood music videos and they re-upload them online.
Not at all what I thought T-Series was going to be.
It seems like a niche thing, as opposed to PewDiePie has been, in terms of subscribers, the most subscribed to channel on YouTube for a long time. He does gaming videos and reactions and all sorts of stuff. And T-Series, seemingly behind the scenes and in the shadows, has amassed an enormous amount of subscribers to the point where now they are less than, I think as of this morning, like 70,000 subscribers away from PewDiePie. They're both like north of 80 million. And PewDiePie was assumed for forever that he was just always going to have the most subscribers. And suddenly T-Series, seemingly out of nowhere, is about to pass him and has been for the last couple months. And he keeps having other YouTubers come out and support him, and then he surges ahead for a little bit, but the gap keeps closing over and over, and sooner or later he is going to get passed by T-Series, just a matter of time.
You see, I always thought T-Series was like another YouTuber that was like made similar concept PewDiePie, and they had like some dumb YouTube drama beef, but it's really just like a channel that makes Bollywood stuff that's, you know, getting really close to most. I did not know there's that big of a. I mean, there's a lot of Indian people in the world. Like, it's really highly populated. I think.
Right. Well, and there's like 1.3 billion or something people that live just in India. So I assume that has a lot to do with it. But my hot take, and the reason that I bring this up is because it's become not even an argument, because most of the people are just all on the same side, and I happen to find myself on the opposite side.
I bet most of the people that watch T-Series are like, what? Who's this PewDiePie?
Probably, because it's completely different demographics. But my hot take is I don't want PewDiePie to win. I will be happy when T-Series surpasses PewDiePie. And my reasoning for that, and why that's an unpopular opinion, is people are seeing this as the fight of the lone creator versus the fight of, or the fight of the lone creator versus the big corporation. Mm-hmm. And people are saying, oh, PewDiePie makes original content and he's by himself, he edits and produces all his own stuff, and T-Series just re-upload stuff and all of that. And I've found that's a completely valid argument, but I've found over the years, I personally just hate PewDiePie. I don't get it.
He's a bit annoying.
More than almost anything else in my life, I have been shocked at how successful PewDiePie has been. And once every year or two, I'll go in and I'll watch one of his videos just to be like, what am I missing? Like, was it just where I was at in my life? Is it just something I don't have that everyone else sees that I don't? And I'm just absolutely stunned that PewDiePie has risen to the levels he can, or that he has. Because personally, I don't think he's funny. I don't think he's talented. I have never watched one of his videos and had a positive feeling associated with it.
I think of all the things we've said that we're worried about being controversial to the point of losing people, like, or people getting mad at us, this is the one thing that's gonna...
This is the iceberg that we hit. It's just like, oh no, we're going down. It's all over.
Like, people, like, big Star Wars fans will still stick with this. I think,
But the PewDiePie
like people
fans are
like
like, nah, man.
avocados. Yeah, they're like, oh no, you don't talk bad about PewDiePie.
And I mean, it is what it is. I know I'm in the minority here. So again, for me, it's no love for T-Series. I just think PewDiePie has been the face of YouTube for a very long time, and hasn't done a particularly good job at that. He's been the face for multiple scandals that have not shined well on either him or on YouTube as a platform.
Yeah, honestly, the T-Series stuff is sounding more worthy of support than, because they're like neutral. They just re-upload. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, it's my case. You get someone on the other side of the aisle to argue their point, and I'm sure you'd see that too. And I see it. But frankly, I would rather have a faceless corporation as the face for YouTube than I would PewDiePie, because I think he's abused his power, in my opinion, far too many times. So
plus, when you think about the T-Series, like gaining numbers, like first of all, like it doesn't. I don't think it really matters who's the most subscribed to people, because like T-Series they just have a bigger audience because the audience is huge, and because like they simply put out stuff that like like if it was a soap opera network and it was really popular, that would just make sense because a lot of people watch soap operas. You know what I mean? But are the people that put the soap operas up there evil?
No, and it's just people trying to find drama in things that they want to find drama in, I guess, because people like drama. But anyways, so yeah, that's my hot take. I know it's an unpopular one, but I've been fascinated with it because it's something that seemingly came out of nowhere. Of like, PewDiePie was always going to be the quote unquote king of YouTube, and now suddenly it's looking like this channel is going to dethrone him very soon, which I just think is interesting. Well, Eric, we're kind of approaching the tail end. Did you want to try and sneak another hot take in just to make people hate us a little more at the very end here?
I'm gonna throw in one more hot take, and it's gonna be a simple one. I think esports are boring, and that's coming from someone who likes video games and like isn't very athletic. I think watching sports like football and stuff, even though I'm not an athletic guy, is more interesting to me than like esports, which is just people sitting around playing video games very well and like much more well. Anyways, much better than I'll ever play. But like whenever I'm playing Overwatch and I see advertisements for the esports stuff, I'm like, I just don't care. Let me play Overwatch. Let me play the video game. I don't want to watch other people play better than me. I'd rather watch a football game.
Which I would venture a guess is how a lot of people, maybe not a lot of, maybe not. I'm not really a sports guy, so this is probably outside my area of expertise to say, but I feel like a lot of athletes feel that way too. Of like, I'd rather go out and play football than sit at home and watch football, but maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have too much of an opinion on this one. There's no esport, quote unquote, that I really watch. I enjoy playing Fortnite, but I don't really watch Fortnite streams or anything like that. And that's the closest thing I have to an esport I'm interested in. I don't really care about Overwatch. I don't care about Dota or League or any of these things. They're just not interesting to me. Yeah, I don't really have too strong of an opinion on that one. What is it about it? It's just it doesn't just grab your interest?
I don't know. I feel like it takes something that's fun and makes it too serious. Like I'll watch Let's Plays, but that's because the people commentating on it are funny. Like I'll watch Game Grumps or Super Mega or something, and those guys are like, they're funny. They're not even necessarily good at the games. In fact, part of the humor is when they like fail at something that's supposed to be pretty easy and like yell. But like watching esport to me is the opposite, because the people playing usually don't talk or you can't hear them, or if you hear them, they're just doing like strategic callouts, and then they're playing the game really well, and it's like, I mean, obviously it's not meant to be funny, so like I don't expect it to be, but like if you take something that's fun and make it so serious that like winning or losing is like something that like can make or break someone's like career, like that, I don't know, that bothers me. I just want these games to be fun.
I mean, it is sports, truly. It's the difference between going out and shooting hoops with your buddy as opposed to playing in the NBA, Like, it's on paper it's the same thing, but it's two very different mindsets and attitudes towards the same activity. So, yeah. Well, Eric, I think this has been a fun episode for us. It'll be interesting to see. We don't get a whole lot of like comments or anything on this show, and that's not super unusual because podcasts is kind of like a one-way. I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's just like you're talking to people. There's not really a two-way dialogue most of the time. But I'd be curious to see if we get a lot of angry people in the comments in this episode, because literally the whole episode is here's opinions we have that aren't popular.
I'd be happy with any audience engagement, to be honest. Hopefully it's positive.
Comment below, like, subscribe, share, or don't, whichever. We're mellow. But yeah. Well, folks, let us know. Are there any opinions we stated today that you have vehement thoughts about, or maybe some unpopular opinions that you're brave enough to share of your own? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below, in the descriptions, in the archives, and all the places that you can put the words on the internet. And remember, this has been the Not Yet Adults podcast, which comes to you every Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, just all sorts of places. It's all variety of platforms. You can sit down for half an hour and listen to us talk about God knows what. We're also on the social medias. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram on Not Yet Adults, as well as on our own subreddit, r/Not Yet Adults, which you should check out if you have the time. If you have even more time and we haven't made you too angry this episode, and you're like, hey, those guys are pretty cool, I'd love to support them, what you can do is you can take out your iPhone. I'll wait. Just unlock it. Put in your password, 0457. Yep, you're good. Okay, open it up. You know that podcast app that you've never clicked on once because you're like, I don't need to use the podcast app. Well, you need to use it today. You need to click on it, go in, hit search Not Yet Adults, NOTYETADULTS. There you go. You see a little man. He's carrying a briefcase, got a dinosaur in his stomach. Click on that, go down to the reviews, hit 5-star. Done. That's all you have to do. Very simple, very easy, and that was an enormous help to us. So thank you so much. We're indebted to you. You need us to kill someone like 6 months from now? Call us up. We're there. We'll do it.
Oh my God, Colin, you're going too far. Did you say 0457? Is that your password?
It's not my password, but I'm just thinking someone out there, it's their password, and that's going to be really cool.
Someone's listening to this and is like, oh my God, is he in my brain? And then they're moving without control of their body, like,
And in the 99.9% of other people, it doesn't apply to them at all. They just assume I made a dumb joke. But that one person that's true for, holy cow, man.
Hopefully they give us 5 stars.
We'll see. But yeah, if you give us those 5 stars and maybe write us a little comment or review in there, we would really appreciate it. So, and that's all we have, folks. This has been another episode of Not Yet Adults. We'll be back Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, and we're looking forward to it very much. So thanks for being here. And until next time, this has been Not Yet Adults.
Bye-bye.